Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. Let's talk about the age of acceleration. I've had a lot of fun recently with the latest AI creation tools. Can anybody guess the phrase I used to create this video? The elephant in the room, the English phrase meaning the subject that you just have to talk about because it's so obvious. And the elephant in the room is artificial intelligence itself, here in Waldorf, notably. And this is actually a good example of the power of AI. A year ago, I would not have been able to create something like this, even with outside help. Now I can do it in just a few clicks at almost zero cost. AI is becoming incredibly powerful. AI is on fire. It's becoming ever more advanced. But it's weird. It's very different from traditional computing. It's actually very difficult to get the business benefits out. And then when people try and do it themselves, sometimes the results are just a little bit strange. Using this technology, though, I think we have an opportunity to become AI superheroes. We all have an opportunity, first, to use AI to supercharge our own jobs, our own roles, but then also, of course, to help our organizations innovate faster using AI. AI has come a long way in the last couple of years. We've seen Microsoft with Copilot, Google Gemini, Apple is putting intelligence on every iPhone, and chip companies like NVIDIA and AMD can't make chips fast enough. Along with TSMC, they make the machines that make the chips. Now, can you guess which company these organizations entrust their business applications to? Any guess? Any three letters? Starting with SAP? Companies that are serious about AI turn to serious application vendors. The models have developed a lot over the last couple of years. They're 10 times more powerful, more intelligent, but perhaps more importantly for us, they're 100 times cheaper. This means that we really can start using them in lots of areas where before the ROI would have been harder to justify. And we're not stopping now. This is a quote from OpenAI. Today's AI will look laughingly bad in a year's time. They are devoting somewhere between 10 and 25 times as many resources to train the next generation of AI platforms. So we're going to find out probably later this year what that means, but it's clearly going to be an advance on today. Today's AI is the worst that you will ever use in the rest of your life. But who cares about technology? What about the actual implementations? The number one question I get from customers and prospects is, well, what can I actually do with it in my organization to provide business value? But the trouble is, it's really quite a hard question to answer because the answer is almost anything and everything. It's an incredibly transversal technology that you can use and will use, I think, in almost every business process. Here's just one study from McKinsey in different lines of business showing that 60% of the respondents believe that they're going to be able to increase revenues in that area. 40% say that they'll be able to decrease costs. There's many other studies showing that there's a lot of perceived promise about the benefits of AI. But there's also a lot of skepticism. We're clearly seeing the start of a backlash against the AI promises. We've passed the peak of hype on the Gartner hype cycle. We're heading towards the trough of disillusionment. But actually, this is probably good news. This means that people have started implementing artificial intelligence, actually using it rather than just talking about it. And they're starting to realize what it can and can't do in the enterprise. So we still need to find out where the ROI is. Now, one of the problems is that there's a lot of confusion because there's two very different AI markets going on at the same time. Everybody knows the parable of the tortoise and the hare. The hare is AI for personal productivity, using it to improve your job as an individual using, say, ChatGPT. The tortoise is the AI for corporate business processes. Now, at the end of the day, we all know that the tortoise wins. But right now, a lot of the focus is on the hare or the rabbit. Here's one study from Microsoft based on Copilot showing a lot of real-world benefits. Customer service agents solved 40% more issues. Security professionals completed tasks 23% faster. Salespeople answered customer questions 39% faster. In fact, this very slide is a good example because I used ChatGPT to summarize the Microsoft white paper for me. And then I said, hey, I've got these figures. Can you just make me a chart? And it created that in just a couple of clicks. Now, these are clearly benefits. People appreciate using these tools, but they're not necessarily the same thing as ROI for the organizations. In fact, there's a lot of stories and anecdotes about how people are using ChatGPT daily in their jobs, but they're not telling their bosses. Why? Because they're worried that they'll be told not to do it, or they'll be just given more work. So there is ROI, but it's not necessarily going to the companies. But clearly, we need to now move into this next phase, from exploration of AI into construction of the systems we need to make AI successful in our organizations. So all of the analysts agree that this coming year will be the year of enterprise AI adoption. We've done this initial phase. Now it's time to make it work. So going back to the tortoise, I think in the long term, it looks a little bit like this. The vast majority of the benefits of artificial intelligence will come from embedded AI in your existing business processes. It'll just be part of everything you do, and you'll use it from companies like AI or your other, from SAP or your other vendors for the same reasons as you use applications from those vendors. They have the connections and the expertise to be able to embed the technology directly into what you need it to do. On top of that, there'll be composable AI. This is using platforms like SAP BTP and our partners with a more plug-and-play approach. So where you have other areas where you need extensions, you should be able to just bolt that on very easily and have it understand your existing environments. And then on top of that, you still will do custom AI using platforms like SAP BTP, but it'll be reserved for those high-value areas. Okay, so where's SAP in all of this? Here's yet another AI-generated video. This one is supposedly Waldorf. Can anybody see the hidden message? You might have to blur your eyes a little bit, and the people at the back might see it more. Hands up, people see it? All right, let's make it obvious to everybody else. There we go. SAP embedded everywhere. Now, the good news is that SAP has been doing AI for a long, long time. I can prove it to you. Here's the original SAP logo from the early 1970s, and already then we were thinking about embedded AI. Look at that. It's right there in the original logo. So we've already rolled out lots and lots of both traditional and generative AI throughout our applications, and we'll be continuing to do so. We'll have over 130 use cases by the end of this year, and that's by far more than any other application vendor. But for the rest of this presentation, rather than going through lots of those examples, and really I encourage you to reach out to your representatives and talk to people and figure out how AI can make sense to you because each use case is really quite specific. I tried to group it into areas where AI can make an astounding impact. So let's go through each of these in turn. Awesome interactions, advanced insights, automation and integration, and accelerated implementations. Awesome interactions. I think this is the biggest possibility for the vast majority of people. We have the opportunity to completely redefine the interface between people and all of the technology that we have invested many millions in over the years. Everything gets easier and more intuitive to use. We can give everything that we've already done to more people. For example, on the front line or in stores using voice and vision. OpenAI just rolled out advanced conversation mode. I'm sure many of you saw the demo. You can really start chatting with your bot in most of the world, but not in the EU, unfortunately. That's one thing that we do have to work on here because of regulations. But this is clearly going to be a big benefit, a big ROI, and make everything easier and more intuitive to use. Of course, we're investing a lot with Joule. Now, Joule isn't really sort of just a chat bot. It really is a new paradigm for interacting with business applications. It's not one thing. It's a window onto lots of different types of specific functionality in different areas. It can help you navigate. It can help you do transactions. Hey, I'd like to create a leave request. Or it can give you information about your company policies. And later this quarter, you'll be able to use it for completely analytical use cases. So any data, anywhere in your organization, you'll be able to chat with that and have it create the charts and tables you need on the fly. You saw a quick glimpse of that in the demo yesterday where Xavier talked about the dashboard on top of SAP ALM. And we'll be continue to roll it out across the business suite. You've been talking a lot about SAP Signavio over the last couple of days, so it'll be available later this soon, and other aspects of the SAP BTP platform like SAP DataSphere. One that I'm personally really looking forward to, and we don't have a release date for this, SAP Consulting with Joule. This just makes so much sense. We've taken, along with NVIDIA, we've done a partnership where we're taking all of the data about best practice use of SAP systems. All of the technical documentation, all of the training material that we've created, and put it all into a massive large language model. And the idea is that you will be able to talk to it and find out how to do anything to do with SAP installations. So I know people use the SAP community a lot, right? How do I do this in this case? The idea is that we can be able to do that all more effectively in the past. So this is rolling out internally initially and with some selected partners, but I'm really hoping that we get this out to everybody as soon as possible. Because again, this will massively accelerate our ability to do things quickly. And it should be able to take into account the specifics of your environment as you're asking questions. Next, advanced insights. I talk to a lot of people about innovation, and I often ask the people who have led these projects, what would you have done differently second time around? Can anybody guess what the number one answer I get when I ask that question? What they would have done differently? Anybody? Started last century? No, that's, well, sort of. Anybody? Shout it out. Couldn't quite hear you. More time on something. Anyway, okay. What they say is they would have spent more time cleansing and integrating data. The number one problem they faced in their products, especially with anything to do with AI, is that they just didn't have the data they needed in the first place. And they needed to spend more time in the data sewers, in the plumbing of their organization, getting everything clean so that they actually had a platform in order to advance. So hands up if you have a data quality problem in your organization. Oh, come on. If you don't have your hand up, you're in denial. But there isn't a company on the planet that doesn't have a data quality problem, and we would like to help implement a strong data foundation with the help with SAP. So notably, we've been working a lot on tools like SAP DataSphere. So this is a business data fabric solution. It's designed to give you a single view across all of your corporate data, inside and outside the organization, but without forcing you to bring it all together in an old-style data warehouse. So you connect to the data rather than collecting it. And this is increasingly essential in an AI world. We're adding SAP Knowledge Graph. So this understands all of the metadata and the links between all of the entities that you have in your organization. And along with the SAP HANA Vector Engine, this is essential for grounding large language models. As you're doing generative AI, you know there's a tendency to hallucinate. These technologies are really important for helping you do it and get the right answers consistently over time, because context is incredibly important when it comes to using artificial intelligence. You don't want to have something generic. You want it based on your situation. Here's a good example. I took this picture and I pasted it into PowerPoint. And I don't know if you've noticed, but if you paste something into PowerPoint now, it automatically gives you an AI-generated alt text that it thinks it is. So the alt text of this was man attacking an old woman. But of course it wasn't. He's saving her from the truck that's just about to run her down. As we're doing AI, we need the context of what's happening in real time, in the real world, in order to get the right results from our AI-based systems. Here's a lovely example. This is AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. As you know, the chip market for things like GPUs is just white hot. They cannot make these things fast as there's the demand. So this means that any type of delay or problem in the supply chain is a big deal. So AMD has a dedicated team, and their job is to troubleshoot any particular problems and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. Now, in the past, that used to require up to 14 different manual checks on different things that could be going wrong. Some of them structured information or unstructured information. Now, they automatically take all of that information into the SAP BTP platform, and using our Gen AI hub and some help from Deloitte, they bring all that together, and they've been able to save thousands of hours to troubleshoot the potential supply chain problems. But the big benefit, of course, is that they're solving those problems 10 times faster, and that has a direct impact on the bottom line because they're able to produce more goods faster. And again, this is bringing together the critical information in their organization using the SAP BTP platform. Here's another one from Aspen Pumps, headquartered in the UK, international organization. They sell pumps to businesses, things like air conditioning. And they implemented a customer service bot. So they wanted to make it easy for their customers to say, hey, do you stock Mini Aqua products? And the chatbot has all of the context. This is retrieval augmented generation. They've added all of their documentation in behind the scene. It's actually business people doing that, by the way. You don't need a tech. The business people can keep that information updated directly. So yes, we do stock that. Here's the one we recommend. Or it could be, hey, I want a pump like this. It's got to be under 20 decibels, ceiling mounted, and I need it in less than 30 days. Sure, we can have that. Here's the pump you want. Here's the link for more. Or it could be, hey, do you have a pump like this one from a competitor? And it will go and look up the specs for that product and then find the product that is the closest equivalent and make it available. So again, very much leveraging the information of the organization to improve customer service in this case. We heard from Henkel yesterday. As we said, they're famous for selling like Loctite glue and Schwarzkopf hair products. And you probably don't want to mix those two up. They're using the SAP BTP just ask functionality in SAP Analytics Cloud. So this is using Gen AI you can ask natural language questions. So, what are the sales by region, by something? And it'll just make sure that it generates the right SQL, brings back the right data, and puts it in the chart in the right format. And I think it's later this quarter, we're extending that to planning. So every planner's dream is, or manager's dream, it's like, hey, what would happen to my budget if expenses go up by 10%? And it would just give you the new budget. Automation and integration, so we're just making it, hey, you know what? I want to connect that to that. And we have all the information about your systems, and we've got 3,000 best practice integrations of different types of SAP and non-SAP systems. We can now just do that for you. So we just say a little bit of information, it's like, well, which system did you want to talk to, and like how often, and it will just generate everything you need in the background. This is a huge opportunity for efficiencies and going faster. Or it could just be everyday little automated processes. This is one of the SAP Innovation Awards from this year. Essen für alle. They are a Swiss charity. They provide food to people who need it. They wanted to automate some of their processes. Notably, they used AI. There's a very handy, easy-to-use document extraction service that is part of SAP, and you just call that, and it will just take all of the information you need from any paper-based documents or photographs that you have lying around. Just easy to use, very effective, and in this case, helping people who need it. And finally, accelerated implementations. What's holding back most use of new technology isn't the technology. The technology already works great in most cases. What's holding us back is having the time and the resources to actually implement it inside our organizations. So this leads to most IT organizations have big backlogs of things that business people would like to do, and everybody has to say no far too often to innovation. So what can we do using AI to help with that time and resources problem? Well, first, we can help the IT resources do more faster. So this is where SAP Build Code comes in, for example, where now you can start programming extensions and innovations using English language. You literally just describe the application that you would like to see, and then it will create the code and the data structures and the test data that you need to take it to the next level. And it understands ABAP. So this is getting more out of your existing resources. They can do more faster. But I believe that there's a much bigger long-term opportunity, and that is to accelerate innovation by letting business people do more of it themselves in their area of expertise without IT and technology being a bottleneck. Here come the purple people. So called because they're halfway between the red technology professionals and the blue business people. Gartner calls them business technologists or fusion teams, but believes that the vast majority of innovation in the future will be done by these people, much closer to the businesses. IT will provide the platforms, and the business people can do more themselves. Why? Well, because power users became more powerful, and everybody can now be a power user. Thanks to the cloud and no-code and low-code, people can do more than just like little macros. They can really create their own end-to-end composite applications that can leverage your existing data sources. And of course, AI is just accelerating this like crazy. This is where SAP Build Apps comes in, where business people can create applications just using drag and drop. It's just literally connecting little Lego blocks to create end-to-end applications. And we've made sure that people can leverage AI as part of that. So we have a whole bunch of built-in blocks, if you like, where people can use the services that we already have, or it could be third-party services like ChatGPT, and they can create applications themselves. Now, what's wrong with that? Not everybody is ready to be enabled. We don't want to put chainsaws in the hands of toddlers. We all know that business people are lovely people, but they're not necessarily good at security or governance or knowing what they're doing. So a big part of the SAP approach is to not no code or low code, but co-code. It's business people and the IT people working together, each of them doing what they do best. So a nice example, for example, again from the Innovation Awards, is Pif Paf Alimentos in Brazil. And in just 3 weeks, they were able to create an application for their maintenance technicians. And the maintenance technicians did all of the work about, here's what the interface should look like, and here's what I'd like it to do, the wireframing. So the business side, it handed the business side of what it should do. But of course, IT had to wire it into the right systems to make sure it was getting the right data. But they were able very quickly to work together and resulted in increases in reduction in time and in paper waste and so on. So this is what the result is there in Portuguese. And final step in accelerated innovation. I find this one fascinating. So we talked a lot about Signavio and integrating Signavio with the life cycles of your processes and systems. One thing that's tricky is that you need to get the processes into the system in the first place. So this is where AI can help, where you can literally just record somebody saying, hey, what's your job? How does it work? Talk to me about a process. You can take that recording and it will transcribe it and turning it into OWL, a language that is used to describe business processes. And once you've got it all written down, then you can start using all of the great collaboration tools and the optimization tools that are part of the Signavio system. So again, making everything more transparent so that you can optimize it. And so the last point here, this is a little more out there, but I do believe that this is the future, is AI stands for automated innovation. If you think about it, we have vast amounts of information about what's going on in our businesses and in our systems. We also have huge amounts, at least of SAP, of best practice ways of doing things across entire industries. So what we can do is use tools like Signavio to scan your systems, figure out which parts of which business processes have the biggest opportunity for improvement. Where is it that you're 10% worse than the average in your industry? Then we have off-the-shelf best practice systems. You say, hey, would you like to automate that with BTP or a partner solution or best practice with S/4HANA? And in the cloud world, we can start doing that for you. So all of that means that innovation should be less and less like walking up a staircase where you have to physically decide to move up step painfully, and become more like an escalator, where you simply step on, and we're using AI and the power of data to proactively suggest the next big business opportunity that you should find in your organization. All right, so that was the 4 areas we talked about. Before we go, I'd like to talk something about the cultural side of things. Did you know, this is absolutely true, that we put a man on the moon before we put wheels on luggage? It sounds insane, doesn't it? Man on the moon, what year? 1969. First patent for wheeled luggage, 1972. And then it was a simple strap, 4 wheels and a simple strap that you pulled the bag along. And it wasn't until 15 years later that somebody came up with the idea of the handle that comes out of the bag. And it wasn't until 15 years after that that people invented the bags, the spinner bags, that you can walk along comfortably with them beside you. So technology was not the problem. Right? It's adaptation. So way back in the 70s, it was mostly men that traveled, that it was manly to carry your own bags. And if you didn't want to do that, then there were porters everywhere, and airports were not the smooth, shiny places that they are today. You know, they've adapted to wheeled luggage more than the other way around. So all of this to say, it takes a long time for our organizations to adapt, to use these latest technologies. That's what we really need to focus on. We talk a lot about technologies, but ultimately it's about people and culture and organization. So AI stands for adaptation imperative. Starting with you, I honestly believe that part of your job is probably now obsolete. There's something that you shouldn't be doing, that you should be letting the chatbots do. But there's another part of your job where you could be 10 or maybe 100 times more effective than in the past. The trick, of course, is to take the time to figure out which is which, as an individual, but also as a team and as an organization as a whole. So now is the time to take that step back, to reevaluate. And the only way to do this is to take the plunge. AI is a bit weird. It's really hard to get your head around. The way to do it is to start trying it out. To go onto ChatGPT or whatever the tools you have available in your organization, try to figure out which parts of your job you could start doing better. And I have AI artifacts on the video. Look at that. Of course, we'd love to help at SAP. We've been helping organizations surf the latest wave of technology for over 50 years. So if you'd like to know more, please go to sap.com/AI. And in particular, we're in the middle of organizing a massive round of AI value workshops with organizations around the world. So please contact your SAP representatives and see if that's something we could do, where we really get to drill down with you exactly to answer that very first question at the beginning: what can AI do in your organization to help you with your business ROI? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Timo Elliott, thank you. Again, it's me between you and lunch, so let's keep it short. We continue at 2 p.m. here in this room with this session from RefTrack, from one of our gold sponsors, where we learn to set up SAP S/4HANA for success. Enjoy lunch. See you later. Thank you.